Welcome to the Land Whisperer channel. If you're here for the first time, then my name is Chris. I'm a writer of short stories, and I'm also a spiritual land worker. And if you're returning to the channel, then thank you very much indeed for coming back. Last week, we spoke a little bit about the monuments that are found across the landscape from the early Neolithic, the causewayed enclosures and the long barrows, for example. Today, I want to briefly share with you some of the techniques that I use when I extract psychic information from the stones at ancient monuments. I know most of you from the spiritual community will know this already, but there's always someone who doesn't, so please bear with. If you do like the content, then give us a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel. It is free. And if you like the content and want to continue to be notified, then hit the notification bell, which will let you know when I post a new video. Now to the video. Reiki is a beautifully simple yet deeply profound method for self-development and healing. Reiki means spiritual energy, Rei meaning spiritual and Ki meaning energy. The practice was founded by Mikao Usui in Japan in the early 1900s. He created it to support people on their journey towards fulfillment and enlightenment. In the early 1920s, Master Usui journeyed to Mount Kurama, north of Kyoto, and spent 21 days fasting, in prayer and meditating, and it's believed that he received a vision at that mountain which helped him to discover the path of Reiki. You may have heard of the term the laying on of hands in the context of the New Testament in the Bible, where Jesus laid his hands on the sick to heal them. Reiki is a spiritual practice that involves either a hands-on or a hands-off approach to healing a person who's ill. It depends on the patient or circumstance as to which approach is appropriate. The practice can also involve meditations and the use of symbols which can help us to further our own personal development, as well as restoring our body's capacity to heal itself. When I come to use Reiki, I have to prepare my mind, my body, and my heart using symbols that I have been attuned to in order to bring myself into what I term the Reiki flow state, where I am in continuous synchronicity with the universal energy fields, or if you prefer, the sacred grid network. Quantum scientists call that the 0-point field. And it's a place or a sea of continuous and endless possibilities. It really is a beautiful place to be. In my body, if I've been in that state for a long time, then I find that my energy is lowering and lowering and lowering. It's a bit like a battery running out of power. So you have to set an intention right at the beginning of the session in order to say, please don't use my personal energy, but please allow the universal energy to run through me instead. In the human body, we have 7 major chakra points, and you can use Reiki to help with balancing those energy centers. Whenever a treatment is given, it can feel different each time the energy passes through you. Sometimes you feel energized, sometimes you get very sleepy. It depends on the intention that the practitioner has when working on you. These days, I use it mainly at sacred sites and the land, to seek higher wisdom or higher knowledge, and of course healing where required. Academics talk of a term called animism, which is defined as the belief that objects, places, landscapes, creatures and plants all possess a distinct spiritual vibration, essence or consciousness. The shamans of indigenous and native peoples seem to agree that one can actually talk to stones and rocks, for they possess this energy too. So essentially, Reiki is energy work. We work with frequencies, resonance and vibrations, and over the years, you feel more each time you practice, and you become more comfortable with what information comes through. You also learn to trust that that information is right for you, and your client if you're in a healing session. We are all individuals, so we receive information differently, but it usually is presented in a way that you, as the practitioner, will understand, so you can explain it to your client if needs be. When asking for higher knowledge from a sacred site or stone, I also enhance my natural intuition with crystals. Being stones themselves, they can interact with rocks on many different levels. These are some that I use. They all have specific and different purposes, and they will work with you for those particular reasons. For example, labradorite works for me as a collector of information about our ancestors and communities and people's emotions. Danbarite works as a locator for geopathic stress for me, i.e. wherever there's a fault line in the earth, such as at Stanton Drew Stone Circle. Kyanite helps me connect to the element of water, and I receive information stored within a water source at a site whenever I use it. The way crystals work for me, however, may not necessarily be the way that they work for other people, because we're all unique beings. You just have to test them out, as it's a trial and error approach for everyone. If I decide not to use a Reiki session, then I can just connect directly with the stones by placing my hand on a stone, like that, and extracting the information psychically from it. That process is called psychometry. Once again, using crystals, I can place that against the rock, etc., and that will boost the power and clarity of the messages coming through. The other thing that I do is meditate, and I use music in order to block out external sounds, and so then I can just concentrate directly on the clarity of the message coming through. I've been using Reiki since about 2018, and I find it a great technique to use in the field in order to connect with the grid network. But I do use a few other techniques as well. There are many, many things I could say about energy work and working with the 0-point field, but I think I'll save that for other videos. What I will say is that if you choose to go to a site, the information that you get may well change depending on what frequency you are resonating with on the day. Your moods and your emotions and your intent also affect the information that you receive. Now, on my journey across Wales, I will show you how I interact with the stones and the wider environment so that you will get to see how I actually work. But next week, I will share with you the psychic findings that I had, particularly from the Great Circle at Stanton Drew. Until then, I wish you unconditional love, as always. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.